Hey there. I came to the US around 6 years ago to pursue my MBA in entrepreneurship. And I've been fortunate enough to have been given the opportunity to pursue my own startup endeavor to be an entrepreneur in this fantastic country. I've received tremendous amount of support from people from here, financial support, network support, and also the support to pursue my dreams. And it's been wonderful. And being a part of Babson's network, which attracts a lot of international talent, especially those who want to pursue entrepreneurship, I get asked a lot on some of the tips or advice for potential or for immigrant entrepreneurs who wish to grow and succeed and build a life for themselves in this country. So here are a few thoughts that I had. The first one is it is super important to embrace cultural diversity. Usually, when immigrants come to this country, legally at least, they would either come in on a student visa or as a student, or they would come as a part of a professional corporate exchange program. Whatever the reason is, people who come here post their childhood, there's a lot of cultural shock that they need to imbibe to get a sense of what's happening around. And that includes food, language, culture, these small nuances that people don't often think about. So, for example, when I came here, I when classes started and the exams got over, it was common habit in India from where I'm from to ask each other of what their results or grades were. But I later found out that it is not such a common practice over here in the US, where things such as grades are supposed to be kept confidential and not shared publicly. In India, for example, in certain cases, the results are posted out on public notice boards so that it's accessible to anybody. Good or bad, it's very important to know these cultural nuances as well. And so, being open to it, being able to assimilate very good in society, which I believe that Asian immigrants have done extremely well, where they have been able to maintain their own culture, they have been able to celebrate their own festivities and practice their own religious freedom. They've also been very effective in assimilating to the American society, in making everyone feel safe, included, and being wholeheartedly participating in the new culture that they're currently a part of. And being an immigrant entrepreneur, it's very important to do so. It's very important to understand the pop culture references. It's very important to understand what's happening in this country. It's the historical references, the historical events that have happened, that have transpired to build the society that we are building in right now. So, spending time, energy into understanding that, assimilating that, being empathetic towards the people who are from here, and understanding what really happens, I think is super important as well. The second is it's super important to build a strong network that kind of plays along the first point that I mentioned, where the more you assimilate with the culture, the more you learn to understand people, and the more people will start liking and respecting you, which I think is super important. As an entrepreneur, even if regardless of which part of the world you're from, it's very important to have that network. It's very important to have people support you, root for you, and wish for your success. And since you have transplanted yourself into a whole new country where you know probably don't know anyone or don't know anyone who can possibly help you, it's very important to take that effort, especially if you are a student or coming in here as a student, not to waste any time, and reach out to alumni, reach out to people in and around the city that you live in, and build that strong network so that once you need their support, once you graduate, you will be able to get them as you go. That is a super important aspect of it, to build a strong support network. And if you're part of an university, your doors get quite opened to people who are alums from those universities, and especially students, where people love to help students, give advice to them. It gets really easy to do so when you're a student. And building the strong support network, being an entrepreneur, super 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 important. Third is to overcome language barriers. So when I speak to newly immigrated students especially, they often say that, aren't you conscious of your language? Obviously my accent is different, everyone's accent is different, and it's pretty obvious that by the way you speak, from the which part of the world you have grown up in. And people often think of it as a negative. People often are very conscious about not having an accent, or having a different accent, or speaking in terminologies or words that people may not commonly use in the particular space therein. But I think it's completely fine. It's nothing to be ashamed of, it's nothing to be scared of. I know I don't have an American accent, and I know I have been conscious at times. But looking at people around me, like one of my friends, she is fantastic. She has a very thick accent from the part of country she's from, but that has not stopped her from connecting to people and achieving great heights professionally and personally as well. And that is a testament where the language that you use, the accent that you have, is just a medium. It is what you say and what you express, I think, that makes a real big impact on how your life turns out and what things you're able to achieve in this space as well. The fourth important thing is to very important aspect is to understand the legal and regulatory framework in this country. Being an immigrant, you it's super important for you to understand the different legalities or different processes that you have been through and what you need to do to stay over here. Because being from Asia, there are a lot of limitations around working on certain types of visas. There is a lot of knowledge that you need to get so that you have a very clear path towards what actions you need to take to achieve certain goals, especially receiving work visas, where without work visa you cannot work in this country. And it's very important to know that, important to know the nuances and spend a lot of time talking to people and doing your own research on what needs to be done. There are several pathways towards pursuing your entrepreneurial journey in this country, and it's very important to be aware of each and every one of them, the financial implications, social implication, legal implications for each of these paths, and then take a call on what works best for you in your particular situation. Because I've seen many a time where people who are really smart, really talented, really hardworking, but they were forced to leave this country because they were not able to figure out their immigration situation in time, and that was very unfortunate. And given the competitive nature of people wanting to build a life for themselves in this country, it is not it's unsurprising that the whole immigration process, the legal immigration process especially, is very, very time consuming, challenging, frustrating, and oftentimes requires a lot of support in the form of good attorneys and people who have been through the process before you. So it's very important to spend time in understanding, especially as an entrepreneur. The restrictions that you're placed on is even more nuanced, and hence it's best to spend a lot of time on it. The final thing is securing funding and financial management. Being an entrepreneur or immigrant entrepreneur, it is likely that you would be coming from a place in your home country where you may have limited financial resources compared to an average income from people in this country. You have issues such as having very low social security uh, score or social security credit score. My apologies. Because you've just received a social security number and hence you don't have any credit history, hence you won't have access to credit cards, no lease vehicles, no rental apartments. So there are a lot of restrictions that are placed on you. Of course, these take years to figure out, and because of these financial restrictions that are structural in nature, you will have difficulty in getting financing for just your day-to-day life, least of all your business. And hence the necessity for having a strong network becomes even more important. And it is again very important for you to really understand how financial system works in this country, how credit score works, what its impact is on your life, different means of savings, personal financing, personal investments, and also the investments regarding your startups. What is a safe note, convertible debt? It's very important for you to understand, spend a lot and lot of time in understanding these nuances, and spend a lot of time talking to people who have been through the same process. It could be one of those things that could make or break your journey in this country, where if you are not fully aware of the implication of your personal finances or credit score, you will find it extremely hard to just um, lead a normal life and have extreme pressures, financial pressures on your personal life, which will impede you from being a successful entrepreneur. So these are some of the thoughts that I have regarding immigrant entrepreneurs who wish to build a life for themselves in this country. It is definitely more work. It is definitely a lot more effort at a personal and a professional level. It requires a lot of willpower, a huge ability to manage, understand risk, and manage and understand stress. And it is definitely, like I've always said, it is a journey of personal growth.